Alright, look, let me get serious with you for 1 second. I understand that life can get pretty tough sometimes. Maybe relationships are getting pretty tough to maintain, or who knows, you could just be a little down in the dumps. But hey, that's not my problem. I gotta be honest, it's pretty hard for me to screw up. And why is that, you ask? Well, it's pretty easy. I just follow my foolproof guide to life. This bad boy has gotten me through plenty. And if you don't think so, check this out. Yep, I'm still alive. Well, I got some living to do and responsibilities to ignore. I'll see you later. So, life got kinda hard. Don't ask what happened, but I think the firefighters were able to put it out. It wasn't my fault, though. I mean, I looked through my foolproof guide, but unfortunately, as it turns out, this guide is only intended for ages 5 through 13. Oops, I guess I gotta read the fine print next time, huh? Wow, well that book sucked. Just wasted my time and it didn't even help me. And above all, none of my problems have even been solved yet. You know, maybe I could face my problems straight on, but why would I do that? That's kind of dumb. Oh well, I'm gonna go do what I do best and play some video games. You know, something that I don't need any kind of strategy guide for.
In today's world, it's kinda hard to imagine life without access to the internet or missing something so important like your smartphone. Before Google was there to answer all of the questions, people's main sources of information were from newspapers, magazines, and books. I know it sounds pretty foreign in the modern world, but imagine this scenario. You're enjoying a night of playing PS2 with the girls and you just can't figure out what to do next. Before I get ahead of myself, we have to go back. In the late 1980s, a few years after the release of the Nintendo Entertainment System, players and young gamers had questions and would begin to get stuck on certain games. Now of course, this made sense. Games like The Legend of Zelda were different from what you would find in the arcade. Video games had more of a story and started to rely on different strategies and puzzle solving. With that being said, gamers needed help. Introducing the Power, Nintendo Power. Nintendo's brand new magazine made its debut in 1988 and would seek to inform gamers on upcoming games, but more importantly offer tips and tricks that could be used if you were in a bind. However, there's a problem with this. Nintendo Power could only cover so much. If you were stuck on a specific game, but said game wasn't covered in that month's issue, then your problems were never going to get resolved. If that was the case, then you could always give Nintendo a call and get some quote-unquote game counseling. Secondary services were also offered alongside Nintendo Power magazine, like the Nintendo Power line. Struggling players could be connected to the pros, aka Game Masters, who would then help you out if you didn't know what to do. But parents, be warned, if your kid absolutely sucks at video games, then be expecting a very hefty phone bill. And children, be warned, if you absolutely suck at video games, then be expecting a very hefty ass whooping. Nintendo wouldn't be the only ones to offer help to their players. Sega soon followed with magazines of their own. Examples I have include the Mega Play magazine, which is pretty much similar to a Nintendo Power, and the Sega Genesis Strategy Guide. Okay, now we're getting there. Even though it's hard to estimate when the first dedicated strategy guide came out, this was a step in the right direction. Though not the most detailed walkthroughs, they definitely help players beat the entirety of a game rather than just one difficult section. In the year 1990, a new company would be founded, a company that would build its name on producing strategy guides specific to only one particular video game. This company would be known as Prima Games, whose popularity was like none other. If you owned a strategy guide, chances are it was from Prima. Prima wasn't the only guide that would make an attempt to help gamers. Two other notable companies would include Piggyback and Brady Games.
Alright, I'll be the first one to admit, these strategy guides are pretty awesome. Now, even though the internet is like right there, I still think strategy guides are a pretty cool thing to collect and just have. Real talk, there's a certain charm that these guides have that the internet simply can't replicate. I've managed to gather a few throughout the years, and they're pretty cool. Let's check them out.
I should mention, strategy guides focus on bigger releases. While there are a lot of games with guides, not every game has its own guide. So anyways, what is it that makes these strategy guides so special? Well, for starters, this might not apply to everyone, but these guides are incredibly nostalgic. Looking through a strategy guide is like taking a time machine back to the past. I tend to feel like a little kid again when reading these. Most of the time, I'm not even playing the game, I just enjoy looking at the contents inside. So what about the contents inside? Well, obviously these guides offer tricks and tips, but unlike a gaming magazine, a dedicated strategy guide offers an insane amount of detail and perfectly explained instructions that'll help you get through the game. Is there an area that you might have missed? The guide is there to help you. Is there a certain item that you might need to have before the upcoming boss battle? The guide is there to help you. Did your self-esteem drop after having the guide essentially beat the game for you? Yeah, sorry, the guide can't really help you there. Something else that the guides are really great for is just the overall look and aesthetic. Honestly, one of my favorite parts of these strategy guides is examining the cool art and different character models provided. What's even better than that is how oftentimes some of these books contain art that's exclusive to the guide and nowhere else.
And while we're on the topic of aesthetic, oh, sweet Lord, these special edition strategy guides are crispy. Look at how beautiful these are. I mean, can a book be sexy? Yes, it can. And look, listen, the sauce meter is running low. You break out one of these bad girls and trust me, you'll get some sauce.
Now, unfortunately, as incredible as these books are, not every story has a happy ending. Something that I don't like about modern video game guides has to do with DLC. For instance, this Super Smash Bros. Ultimate guide became outdated before it was even on store shelves, with Joker from Persona 5 getting announced as a downloadable fighter minutes before the game's midnight release. Also, as time went on, it just sort of became inevitable that physical game guides would eventually fade away. As I mentioned before, the internet was in its infancy at the time that power lines and strategy guides made their debut. But once the internet became cheaper and more accessible, it became easier to just search something up on Google rather than go out and spend an extra $20 or more on a strategy guide that'll be completely useless once you've finished your game. Apparently at one point in time, Brady Games merged with Prima Guides. While at the time that was okay, as it currently stands, Prima has since announced that they will no longer be producing physical strategy guides as of spring of 2019, with their last guide being for Electronic Arts' Anthem. Strategy guides aren't completely dead. I mean, you can still find a few of those unofficial guides out there in the wild, but come on, the internet is right there. You can just look these things up for free these days.
So, where do we go from here? Well, I gotta be honest, I think that's kind of it. It's pretty sad that there's going to be a whole new generation of gamers who won't be able to experience picking one of these up and reading it through a long car ride home. But, I mean, times are changing. Things are getting different day by day, and strategy guides are just one of those things that we have to learn to let go of. Even though my problems might not be solved yet, maybe I don't need a strategy guide dictating my whole life anymore. Maybe I gotta determine my fate on my own. I'm gonna give this whole life thing another shot, so wish me luck. I'll let you know how it goes. So it turns out that the accident I might have caused had some serious repercussions on the whole city. I mean, there's an angry mob outside. Everything's on fire. Right, this thing has to have some kind of answers, right? Oh no, it doesn't. What am I gonna do? I'm screwed. No!
Whoa, 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 whoa,